Joey Ping here, checking live man, respectmyregion.com. Here today on another episode of the RMR Podcast. I've got a very special guest today, you guys. We've got the CEO of Priscotty Delivery, Scott Prisco, in the building, representing New Mexico, Jersey, New York. This guy is making some moves with his cannabis delivery, and I'm here today to ask him some questions, and we're going to talk about it. How you living today, Scott?
I'm good, man. It's a good day. It's a nice day outside, and coming live to you from Brooklyn, New York, and it's been good, man. The weather's been good, and it's been a good summer. So we're things are heating up here, and on the cannabis side and the business side. So we're excited. It's finally coming around. It's taking longer than we wanted, but it's coming.
You guys have been working toward these goals for quite some time. We've known each other two to 3 years now with Mitch, and you guys have, entered the New Mexico market, and now you're adding in some other areas. Can you talk a little bit about what it's been like running your model and what it's been like running that model in New Mexico? And then we'll touch on the East Coast expansion.
Yeah. I mean, the New Mexico, first and foremost, we went to market, when we first met MJ and Pack, I mean, we weren't even launched, right? So it's like New Mexico was the first market, proof of concept. We were just trying to get our feet wet, and then, really trying to build out our technology, figure out the operational piece, how that's going to work, different things like that. So it's been a learning lesson for sure. And, we've done a lot of really good stuff, and, we've made mistakes on some fronts, and, we keep moving forward. So it's been good, but it's been a lesson. I think the market's turned into a tough market overall with the low barrier to entry and unlimited licensing. Everyone getting a small piece of the pie. So I think it's going to be a really great market. It just needs time to flush out. And you got to kind of ride that wave. So you got to be in it to win it. So I mean, like that's kind of what we're doing. We're just hanging on and keep growing that. And obviously we have our sights set on higher growth markets where the East Coast population is bigger. So Albuquerque's like what, 500,000 people, and it accounts for like 60% of the population in New Mexico. So but I mean, New York, New Jersey, you're talking 8-9 million people. It's night and day. So
yeah. That's huge. That's a massive difference. And so I would imagine that going from a more niche, smaller market, you're obviously pretty excited about the growth opportunities, not just with revenue, but, you think about building a national brand, being infrastructure and delivery for people. You guys have a pretty unique model. Can you elaborate on how your model works and how you execute that?
Yeah, essentially. So we do a couple different things. And this is kind of goes back to your question about how we're operating in New Mexico. We really figured out, we started building that technology, right? We launched the Priscotty Marketplace. People can go on. We're launching a web app right now as well, so you can go on. So we have the Priscotty Marketplace, right, where we do our own SEO. We're building our brand, and then we also do like a white label aspect too, where we integrate. People use our technology and we run it off their platforms, right? So a lot of bigger companies have their own web apps, have their own marketing teams, their own web sellers behind that. They can use our white label, they use our technology, our operational wherewithal. So we help, make their delivery better and scalable. And then, so we have like two different service offerings in that sense. It's kind of really broken up into two different service offerings since the inception of our business. And then again, we have the Priscotty platform where we're growing Priscotty as a brand and, the straight to consumer aspect. But essentially we work with like a lot of local dispensaries. We integrate into their POS systems, pull inventory through, and we pull it on our side and push. We do the same thing. We help set them up so that their platform on their end ready for delivery. So a couple different ways we operate depending on the client. Different revenue drivers, right?
I think that's huge, right? You got to think like, building out, e-com, building out online menus, oftentimes these brands, whether it's in cannabis or not, they just don't have very strong relationships with their vendors. And it's not because they're for lack of trying always. It's necessary, it's just a lot of vendors, a lot of vendor relationships to deal with for businesses that carry a variety of products, right? How can someone with a bunch of products on their menu really give any one brand or any one product so much attention, right? And so at least like when it comes to marketing dollars or customer acquisition or just getting it in front of people, things like that. Um, how do you, when it comes to like the dispensaries that you choose to work with and the products you choose to push, what goes into, building those relationships out, and what do you look for?
Yeah. So, I mean, and this is going back to one of the mistakes we made, right? So in New Mexico, we came out swinging. I think on the sales side, you saw that at the beginning, like we got a lot of traction, right? So we took on a lot of different people, and we realized quickly that like, hey, more partners doesn't equal more success. It actually complicates things more and kind of creates operational issues. And so we kind of pivoted a little bit now, and we're being more on, and we're looking for people that believe in delivery. We're looking at people that have operational wherewithal, they have business experience, they know how to run a business, right? They have a good selection of staff. They train them well, and we get along good with them. And we get the delivery can do in that area. Yeah, it's a lot more like focused right now on personal, especially on the East Coast, personal relationship building and people that and want to get behind it, and we can come in and be like the delivery experts in that sense, right? So that's kind of like a huge adjustment, not a little bit, it's a huge adjustment from the model we launched in New Mexico, where it was just like, all right, like take everyone. It's like, there is, we charge on volume, right? When we make deals with people. So, it's not like a SaaS model like Weedmaps where it's like take on everyone and just charge them a monthly fee, right? So we kind of started off like that and quickly realized like, hey, this is not who we are as a brand, and this is not the model we want to run. So
Yeah.
it's taking iterations of like trial and error. I mean, that's business, right? I mean, you try things don't work, you try others, they work, and kind of adapt, and you get better as time goes on. So that's what I'm looking forward to most, like kind of taking all the knowledge from like the New Mexico that we've learned and applying it to a bigger market, right? Now it's like we get a fresh new slate, fresh new look, and a chance to like do it right. You know what I mean? And really, excel from the beginning. So that's what I'm looking forward to most in these markets.
I think, each of these markets obviously presents a unique set of challenges, right? You've got, California, New Mexico, you've got all these different, geographies, right? Space, size, distance. Then you've got, what I want to say, the roads, right? The street infrastructure and how that, the routes is what I want to say. The routing it is a problem, right? And being efficient and not being wasteful, right? In a lot of ways, whether it's gas or mileage or just wear and tear on vehicles, things like that. There's a lot that goes into it. What are some of these hidden things or some of these slept on challenges that you guys have had to overcome? What are some of the things that people, that popped up that people didn't expect?
Yeah, I mean, I think as far as the East Coast goes.
Either one. I mean, I'm sure New Mexico presented its own challenges, right? You've got the Las Cruces situation over there with
Yeah.
El Paso and like borders. That's a unique thing. Mitch told me about that a couple years ago. And then I know that obviously in the tri-state part of New York, you actually you drive through New Jersey to get into New York, depending on which way you go. And so
Yeah.
there's some unique challenges that come into play when it comes to the routing, legalities, all that kind of stuff.
I think as far as the logistics side, the thing that we do, like kind of like combat, I'll tell you what we do to combat those issues, and I'll kind of break it down, like, and then you'll kind of get the full take on that. With so I mean, we essentially look at like every market and every like piece of that market, right? Like for instance, New Jersey, and then take Hoboken. Like how are we gonna like launch Hoboken when we draw up a logistics plan for Hoboken versus your area, right? Like, so something that's more suburban or more dense. So we take every little piece of the market when we section it off, and we draw up how we're going to run that logistics plan and what that's going to look like and how it's going to differ, right? So that's kind of how we overcome those challenges, those minute challenges. And I think that, one of the biggest challenges, going back to your first question, that we've seen in New York and New Jersey is the regulations that are a little bit more strict than the regulations in New Mexico. So in New Mexico, we use drivers that use their own vehicles, right? And we have a courier license, so we contract them out. It's really clean cut. And in New York, it's not like that. In New Jersey, it's not like that, right? So it's like in New Jersey, there hasn't been one courier license approved. So we're having to go around and like work with these dispensaries under their license. And there's certain rules and regulations that you have to adjust for, right? In New York, same thing. There's no courier license yet. So that's provided a lot of challenges, like the slow rollout, and wanting to go to market and trying to figure out a path to market before these regulations take shape, because they've had such a hard time rolling out these dispensaries. That's the first and foremost what they're focused on. So I'd say the regulations on the East Coast has provided a lot of challenges that we didn't expect. And just things like New York and New Jersey, right? Like using bicycles, or like people having who has to own the vehicles when you know what that you're using, right? Like what status of worker, like can they have to be W-2, or can they be 1099? Like that's created challenges, I think too. So I'd say the biggest thing for us is the regulatory environment has created the biggest challenges.
Yep. This federal legalization hype train came back around again. It's always during the presidential races, right? This opportunity where potentially federal legalization is coming down the pipeline to stir up popularity, and maybe there's going to be change coming. Obviously with COVID hitting, we saw the country go from 10 to 15 adult use states to like 30 something states with medical and adult use. There's definitely been progress, right? But the red tape, the foundational infrastructure of legislation and the system for legal cannabis, it's so different from state to state. What has it been like operating in different markets and overseeing compliance and making sure that you guys follow the right place to store products, or the delivery processes? And in a lot of ways, they didn't. My understanding is that they didn't create cannabis delivery everywhere. There's like Washington, where I'm from, there isn't any delivery. And then number
Yeah.
two, they didn't create delivery thinking that there would be people like like a Uber or a Lyft or a DoorDash picking product ups for people and then taking it there, right? Now, obviously, that
Well,
wasn't something that they were thinking of when.
and I'd say some states like New York and New Jersey. So okay, so it's caused well. Okay, so in one side, the regulation has caused issues, but it's actually created the opportunity too, because we have to approach every state and carve out like each state separately. Like it's a separate business, right? So that's something we didn't expect when we launched New Mexico and thought about scaling. But in that sense, it's caused a lot of issues, but it's also created that barrier to entry for a DoorDash or Uber, right? And actually, like New York, with delivery, you're only allowed 25 in the regulations. You're only allowed 25 full-time equivalent drivers. So like people in New York, like the regulators in New York, the way that was written, their goal was to keep out an Uber or DoorDash, right? So it's like they're trying to like stop that from happening. It's more of a local based market. So we're having to adjust the model in New York, whether like with who we partner with and how we approach that. And we got some things coming right now. But that's taken a long time to kind of like navigate that. Right. So, it's really caused us to, it's really like you're running a different business in every state. It's really what it comes down to. I think that's just the
Yeah.
best way to sum it up. You're really running a different business. There's no silver bullet. It's not like a traditional SaaS business model, right? Where you're like creating a service and scaling it to, all these different states. Like, something in the startup world, it's something called blitzscale, where it's like you prove a concept and then you go raise a shit ton of money, and then you can blitzscale that across the states. And people have tried that in cannabis, and it just doesn't work, because it's just every market is truly a different business. And that's the way it runs. But again, that's where the opportunity is, right? If you could do that and be patient and start carving out those markets and building good relationships with people and local, it's a hyper local game. So if you can start building great local relationships, and I think that's the way to win.
It's interesting that you say that, because you think about like business cost of goods sold, right? You think cost of services,
Yeah.
right? You think labor, you think marketing, dollars, real estate, all these different costs, sunk costs, assets, taxes, all the things, right? And then you think about one of the big ones is customer acquisition, right?
Mm-hmm.
In cannabis, how do we acquire customers? In cannabis, how do we keep them loyal? How do we keep marketing to them and get them to keep coming back, right? this is a constant challenge that retailers, they haven't figured it out. There's only so many resources, and there are people doing great work and they're making millions of dollars, and they're growing businesses and stuff. But it's not like, I wouldn't say it hasn't been simplified to the point where we've been doing it for 15 to 20 years, like a Uber Eats or like a DoorDash or like delivery just at a pizza spot, right? Just something so simple as that. What do you really, when you think about New York and Jersey, the East Coast, what do you believe are the biggest challenges presented to you today?
Us today, I'd say for our business. So I'd say it's a lack of fund. There's a lack of funding, so that hurts. Like that's an issue with the customer acquisition, right? Like the lack of funding, it's tough, and a lot of like a model like ours, DoorDash, Uber Eats spends 40-50% of their expenses on marketing a year, right? Like that's what their breakdown looks like. So a lot of their expenses are put into marketing, and the goal, they literally just outmarket, right? Like that's their goal, that's their game plan. It's like, let's just outmarket thing, is causing an issue in that sense. So brands are having to be more creative in the way they target customers, the way they retain them. Obviously the social media issues provide issues. You can't use like traditional forms of marketing in the cannabis game, right? It's different. So that's created an issue with customer acquisition. Things, you're putting so much energy in money into something and then getting like just like banned, like Instagram or something like that, like losing an Instagram account. I know you just lost your, we went through counts, and so yeah, it makes it tough, right? If you're putting all this energy and money into something and it just goes away because of those regulations. Right. So I think that from the customer acquisition standpoint, it just makes it a little more challenging. And I think the black market too, right? Like there's just so much things, pulling people's attention. It makes it tough to retain those customers. So, just trying to, what we're trying to do is just create something different, right? Create something hyper local, create something different. Hopefully building a good brand and like a movement where, people want to be a part of, and that's, and giving people value, is our goal. So creating more than just like per se a cannabis brand where it's more of a lifestyle, right? I think that's the kind of the way we go about things. So yeah, I mean that's some stuff we've done, but yeah, it's ultimately it's definitely been it's definitely hard. It's definitely not easy from the marketing standpoint, as you know. And a lot of the brands are doing the same things, right? They're using the same companies, whether that be for like programmatic ads, right? People like using search sites. Like you're seeing like there's a small amount of companies, and all the companies are doing the same thing. So it's like, how do you go in there and really separate yourself from all that stuff, right? Like,
Yeah.
There's a lot of
noise in these there's a lot of noise in these new markets, right? With new brands doing and just doing their thing, and a lot of it is the same stuff, like what you're saying. There's only so many places to do things and opportunities and resources, and then a lot of them are in these early markets are carrying the same products. It's hard. It's all about differentiation somehow, and most of the time, a lot of people are carrying the same stuff. Let's talk about some of your retail partners, right? You guys are, someone places an order through the platform or through the delivery platform of the partner. You guys get an email or notification or however that works, and then bam, you guys are going to go pick it up and take it to them. Who are these retail partners? Where is the cannabis coming from?
So we don't actually own any inventory, right? So we work specifically with these retailers, and we come in and we almost use them like for the Priscotty side, we almost use them as like our fulfillment centers, right? So we don't hold any inventory. It makes it a lot less expensive for us to operate, right? We don't have to front the cost of goods sold. So yeah, I mean, we have a couple deals coming down the pipeline in New York. We have New Jersey's been really good to us as well. So we have like, anywhere from South to North Jersey, we probably have like 10 to 15 different retail partners in Jersey. We have a huge white label partner out in New York City that we're about to launch. And then we have, we're working on a couple things through the boroughs on the Priscotty branded side for the 5 boroughs in New York. So yeah, I mean, that's our goal is we come to partner with these people. They already have the inventory and placing the order. The bud tenders, we train them specifically to, how to serve that order and send it to us. And then, we kind of manage the rest from there.
I think it's
Uh,
crazy that you guys are able to have like a fully flushed menu. These partners, it's different regionally based on where you're at. I think just for where we're at in today's society, I think that's super cool that you're able just to, all right, I live here. I'm old enough, right? And then I'm able to look through this menu and custom, it's custom menu, and then be able to like, okay, cool, we're gonna grab this product from here and here and here, and kind of like do like the Instacart trip, maybe from multiple places if they don't got it, but they all want it, right?
yeah,
Really, really, whether people understand it or not, this improves patient access, right? It's another viable lane for somebody to be able to go online, discover it, learn, or just meet you in person and be offered a solution to their problem. And now all of a sudden they're able to have cannabis straight to their front door or to their job. I believe the rules are private, right? Private addresses, right? For delivery service, things like that. Um,
but
Scott,
we get a
you're
lot. We get a lot of people that order to like their work though. That's the funny part. Like we'll literally have like a pharmacist from like Walgreens place an order, and it's like in some states, and they're like, we're delivering it
like
to like
I
literally
get off
our.
in 4.5 hours. I need a joint ready for when I'm off.
That's 100%.
That is
The funny thing is
normalization right there. That is
the fun,
normalization right there.
the funniest thing when it first happened, we were like, what's going on right now? Like, what's like, we were like, we were like, our driver called us and we're like, yeah, I think just drop it off. Like, do it like normal. I mean, but yeah, I mean, the rules are like private businesses, private residents, private hotels. Um, but yeah, well, and also too, one thing to note too, Joey, like, I think when we launched in New Mexico, we went more of like that DoorDash style where we laid out like a weed map almost, where we laid out different dispensaries, and you kind of choose which dispensary you're getting the product from. And kind of as we were going through it, it didn't really make sense. We realized, you mentioned a great point. A lot of these dispensaries carry the same products, and it's not like the food game where like if you're going to order a burger from Wendy's and a burger from McDonald's is different, right? You're going to have your preference. On weed, it's a CPG. It's CPG, right? It's consumer packaged good. And it's becoming like that it's more of like New Jersey than some other markets like Colorado where you can't just like go in and they weigh the bud out in front of you, right? Everything's packaged and pre-packaged. So it feels more like a CPG. And it's like, so the reality is a lot of these dispensaries carry the same products. So we're changing to more of like product focused and to help the user experience. Where it's like, it's just like, especially on the Priscotty platform, when we're pulling that inventory through, you're just showing products, right? It's all product focus. So that's kind of one thing we've learned, to switch from the model a little bit from when we first launched.
Mm-hmm. What are some of your favorite brands? What are some of your favorite products? Let's start with New Mexico, and then let's get over to the East Coast. What are some of your favorite ones that you currently are doing deliveries of in New Mexico? Because people don't know brands there. We only know about cookies in New Mexico. That's the big name one out there, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think New Mexico is some of the coolest brands. You got like, I think Grower Circle, obviously, like they're high quality. Grower Circle is one of the coolest brands out there. Super high end. They got eights. They got edibles. They got flight bites. They got vapes as well. They're from Vegas, so they're a kind of like a localized brand. They're doing some cool stuff. Bloom is pretty cool out there. They're pretty big. I know they on the East Coast they haven't really made a huge dent yet, but they're pretty popular and they're pretty big out there. The Bloom guys. You got a couple local brands like Stoned Ape, like edibles, and you have who else? I mean, there's some good brands out there, right? I mean, you got trying to think who else. You got a lot of the same
Grower Sire or grow. What is this? Grower Circle.
Grow Circle, yeah.
Grower Circle. Are they in Arizona too or no? Same
I
one.
don't think so. No, they're not.
I think maybe that's
grow
science. I think that may be different people, different grow names.
Yeah.
As somebody who's running a retail, as somebody who's moving a variety of different types of product through this delivery model, do you notice people buying any specific category more than other? I mean, obviously traditional point of sale for dispensaries, you obviously see flower, pre-rolls, vape, and then the rest, right? What are you noticing? What are some of the trends that you see for some of the most top selling or quickest selling items on your menu?
I'd say like vapes are really pretty big. And then edibles are pretty big. Flowers, big, obviously. Pre-rolls, I think that those are what people are buying. People are buying the more convenient, easy to use stuff that
Mm-hmm.
we're seeing a lot. I'd say still 60% flower though. Like that's flower
Wow.
is still no doubt the highest out of all of them as far as data goes. And one thing we look for, going back to your question, now that you say, what do you look for in partners? When we look at partners too, we look for people that have a good inventory with good collection of products, like not too many, but not too little. So that's one thing we consider when we look at partners, kind of what that looks like from an inventory perspective, so that especially on the Priscotty side, we're offering those products, people get those, and then they they have a bigger selection to go to. So that's something we care about, But I'd say flower is still number one. We see that.
Flower number one. Yeah, we've obviously been seeing vapes creep up, right? We've been seeing pre
Yeah.
rolls still stay and hold their own and grow and shift a little bit, but vapes coming up hot in a lot of these markets. When you look at the East Coast, where obviously they're used to being a little colder, they're used to weather, they're used to a discretion because the laws were so harsh in a lot of these places. Do you anticipate having, not to say a different menu, but would you anticipate a different set of trends, perhaps, or some stuff shifting
Yeah.
slightly?
I think you're going to see more on the consumer packaged goods. Yeah, I think you're going to see more on the beverages, the food products, the vapes. I think on the East Coast, you're going to see more of that. It's a little bit more of like a high end market than New Mexico. It's a little bit more bougie. I'd say, especially in New York. So yeah, I'd assume that there's going to be a lot, from what we've seen. There's going to be a lot more of the edibles and then vapes and more consumer based products rather than flower. I think that's really going to be. I think that's going to be the future, right? I mean, they're just so easy to consume. It's you could do it during your day, like you'll hit a vape or go eat a gummy. It's so easy. It's not like you just you take a joint out and you start smoking. It's loud, no
Yeah.
pun
I mean, they
intended,
literally
right? I
smoke.
mean,
They call it.
so,
I mean, it's pollution, one way or the other. Just smoke, right? Air pollution, noise pollution, all these different types of things. And smoking it out in public does pollute the area for other people. Not, we're not. I'm not pollution's, ozone and earth and science, blah blah blah. But we're talking about just being respectful to other people. A lot of weed smokers don't smoke cigarettes, and we all find it disgusting typically when someone's smoking cigarettes out in public next to kids or in a small environment or a room where it lingers, or you're at a restaurant and you're eating. Like, come on, man, there's just standard rules of etiquette and respect in society, whether you know it or not. They exist, right? And cannabis, because it's new and we're all so passionate and it's all huggy lovey-dovey in a lot of ways, even though it's cutthroat and it's saturated and right. But the reality is, though, is that we think that we kind of have it on a pedestal. We feel like we should get a little bit of extra just because it's cannabis. We should get a little extra love, a little extra leeway. But in reality, man, we got to be respectful too. We gotta come prepared and be an industry. We got to show respect to the people around us. And although I am for cannabis being able to be consumed places where cigarettes are consumed, I'm at a restaurant yesterday and we had people walking out cracking jokes about how we're just smoking out the restaurant and we're outside of the restaurant. And you got to think, man,
yeah,
people are spending hundreds of dollars to have a good experience in their family and whatnot. And it's just, we don't need to all be so forward, give us everything, take everything, leave nothing. You know what I mean? And so with New York, it seemed like they tried to give, like they wanted it all. The mayor, right? Unleash it, opened it. Everything is open with legal weed, right? And like, that was kind of like put the cat back in the bag after it's already let out, right? Kind of hard to put water back in the hose. And with you guys, right? You guys are making some moves. You got New Jersey. What is the timeline for you guys in the East Coast? What is the realistic launch timeline? When are deliveries happening? How does that all look and come to life for you?
yeah. I mean, 21 days will be live in both markets, in one way or another, either white label with the Priscotty platform. New York will probably start off. We're going to be starting off white label, and then the Priscotty platform in New Jersey. So yeah, and then we're actually looking to do a little B2B as well, which is good too, because we build those relationships, right? with clients, and then we find out they have other services that they need offered, and it's like, you squeeze more value out of that and serve them more, right? So it's like, I think going back to the customer acquisition part from a business standpoint, the way I look at it is like that customer acquisition, whether that be like from an end consumer or outbound sales, like that's one of the most expensive things in a business. When you build those relationships on one piece of the business, if you can add value on others with the same customers, I think it just makes it so much better. And you basically like, the customer acquisition cost for on the more B2B side is cheaper. So that's something we look for too. And that's like, B2B, I think is going to be pretty good for us in those markets as well.
The markets are exciting out there. Right now, we're in summer. We're in the middle of summer, right? We've got full force raging with cannabis sales and tourism, people flying in, traveling, ordering. You've got people from the West Coast used to ordering delivery, and down there in the Southwest used to ordering delivery. But then a lot of other places, it doesn't even exist yet. And so you got to think like we're talking about establishing the psychological habits. We're talking about introducing a whole new service to a lot of people that they didn't even know existed. What kinds of things are you doing to help create awareness that you exist and you offer a premium quality service?
Yeah, that's a good point, right? There's a lot of people are being accustomed to cannabis, whether they're new to cannabis, and then it's like the next step is delivery, right? So it's like you're trying to get them on cannabis, and then you're trying to get them on delivery. It's like another phase of that. I'd say one big thing we're doing is working hyper local with dispensaries that we partner with, right? Like education to the bud tenders, showing that value. I'd say that's one of the biggest things we're doing is super hyper local. Taking those customers at the dispensary level, letting them know like, hey, we can offer delivery as well. And that's one of the things that we, use that education. We use that interaction with the bud tenders as a platform of education and promotion. That goes a long way. And I think that one of our big things is the value prop of free delivery. What we're trying to push is like so you can literally get your product delivered for the same price as it costs in the store right to your house, and you don't have to move. It's unbeatable value prop in my opinion. So that's one thing we try to push as well is like, hey, look, like it's the same price. You don't have to do anything. You can continue living your life, and it just shows up on your terms. So we really want to push that more, and we're going to lean into that free delivery aspect.
People are used, we're tired of getting nickel and dime for these service charges at the end of a receipt, right? You look at Lyft, you look at Uber, you look at DoorDash, Uber Eats, Grubhub. Even now you go to restaurants and they're secretly putting on gratuities. Last night we had somebody put on an 8-person gratuity for a 7-person thing. We had an empty chair the whole time, 7 people, not 8. And they charge us $20 extra per person for the gratuity. Yeah. And it's like, wasn't even discussed. It was assumed because that's the restaurant's that's how the policy. So if you're just going to that restaurant now, it's assumed that that's the policy, right? And so it's like, I love the idea of free delivery as long as, you guys are profitable, making money and able to be around. I personally I care about consistency. I'm a patient first. I need my mom, myself, other people in your guys' markets. I just care about them having, access to clean quality cannabis through dispensaries and delivery if that's allowed. I really am passionate about just that access part. And so I appreciate what you guys do in that regard. For sure. Now, the next question I have for you, Scott, is what's coming next, right? What are you working on now? What can the people expect from Priscotty and your delivery?
Yeah, so I think what's coming next, you got the East Coast, and so we're really focused on New Jersey, New York, looking at other things as well, other markets out there that that might be coming online, like Ohio, Florida. So definitely expect expansion. And I think too, we're looking at ways we can, make delivery more efficient on the delivery side too. So, whether that be like through innovative ways to really foster delivery as a whole and make it better, whether that be, and I see a next step that hasn't quite hit cannabis yet because it's not fully built out on the other side of non-cannabis, but like AV, like autonomous vehicles. Like, so delivery, whether that be delivery through end consumer or B2B through AV vehicles, right? Like, well, AV, autonomous vehicles, I think that's like the future too. So hopefully we can, look to bring that into cannabis to really help streamline the value chain. and lower costs.
Saving money, increasing the margin, getting the tech down a little bit more. I take enough meetings with trees and these POS companies to know that a lot of money is wasted on just sitting on people's shelves, inventory. Right, you got the wrong products, too much of it maybe, or vice versa, too much of the right product, and now you don't have cash to go do other stuff that you run out. Right, it's this constant battle of projecting and sales tracking and things like that. Before we get you out of here, one of the last couple of things I really wanted to talk about, data. How do you incorporate data into the decision making that you use? From the point of sale to what you carry. How are you using data, and what brands or businesses are helping you, do these, provide that data or make these informed decisions?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of times we use our own data, right? So it's not necessarily we're using. If anything, like pretty soon we're going to be able to like be the ones that can provide that insight for other brands, right? For retail brands, because that's a huge issue in itself. It's like retail brands are selling to the dispensary and they don't have a clear picture of who's buying what and who their customer is, right? So that's something that we could offer on a data sense, talk about future products. But I mean, data, it's important, whether it's delivery data, logistics data, product data. We use it all to make decisions on each side. And I think that, one thing that we're still trying to figure out, especially in like New York and New Jersey, is like a lot of people are still trying to figure out what brands are selling, like what brands are going to sell, which are going to be my go-to brands, which brands aren't very worthy of carrying on the shelves anyway, right? Like, so I think that we're, that's something that's going to take time to really get and see, what brands are going to get flushed out and stick. But yeah, I think that ultimately the data that we use, it plays a crucial role, and that's something that we want to definitely see if we can add to our service offering, is just giving more insight to these brands that are to make better decisions on the brand front. Because I feel like talking to a lot of them are in the dark. They're just getting rid of the product at the retail. They're basically, they're like, who's my customer, right? They're telling them. So that's there's no e-sales in cannabis, like from shipping state to statewide, right? I mean, like across state lines, you can do that. So it's like you can't go direct to consumer if you're a brand like normal. I mean, I know 1906 does it, with the more hemp derived stuff, which is pretty cool. But like, a lot of brands aren't aren't cross state on that, shipping through USPS or anything like that. So it's tough when you're not actively making a sale as a brand to know who your customer is. So just giving them more insight is something that, again, we want to offer in our product offering.
I love that you are trying to really build a strong ecosystem between your entity and the people you work with. I think collaboration is queen, king, and everything in between in today's society, where there may be more resources than ever in terms of advertising outlets and technology and data and all these TikToks and TikTokers and Instagrammers and all the shit, right? All the different things that can propel something. But the reality is that when you really want to speak to a certain audience, you gotta really hone in. And so I like that you have these unique hyper local partners that are retailers. I love that they have their own following in their own communities, and that you're really a technological add-on in terms of value. You're able to, expedite the process, make it more discreet, simplify it, make it easier. There's just a variety of words that delivery really, can help, be attributed to delivery, or a delivery can attribute to their success. You guys are launching soon. You've shared some good updates. Do you have any, exclusive drops or updates or news for the people you'd like to share? Final question for you.
No, I mean, I can't. I would drop a couple names, but I mean, I want to wait till there's a couple things signed, on a couple different fronts. So I would. Yeah. If in a month's time, I'd be able to come out and just like rapid fire, like I just start dropping shit. But we're at that point where I'm gonna have to hold off on that piece. But we got a lot of cool stuff coming, and we've talked about like maybe actually some other stuff that's kind of manifested with local people here, especially in New York. In the cannabis culture, like the culture and localized in New York, it's a huge piece of the market. I think more than any state. It's a very localized business. So we got some cool stuff coming down the pipe, hopefully with some localized people here we made relationships with. It's going to be pretty cool. So, we're hoping we can come in, light them up with delivery and shed some light and give them another revenue stream. It's I think I come from the e-commerce space, and I know that running a brick and mortar business is a totally different strategy and philosophy than e-com. So if we can, we can come in with that expertise and make that happen and help them and increase revenue. If let's say they could do 300 in-store orders a day, and then with us they could do another 100, 150. I mean, that's another 25% on top of the business they're already doing. So that's our goal. But yeah, we got some cool stuff coming. Maybe a couple tweaks in branding as well. That's a hint. I'll drop a little bit. We maybe a little bit of tweaks in branding and some stuff, some collaborations. So we'll see. We'll have to see.
What? Wrong initial question. Who, what, where, when, why? How and where do people get a hold of you? How do people get a hold of you? Where do they go? How can a brand get a hold of you? How can a retailer reach out to partner? Where do they go?
Yeah, I mean, first and foremost, you can hit us up on Priscotty.com, fill out that contact form. LinkedIn, Instagram, shoot us a DM. I mean, for me personally, I spend a lot of time building relationships. So usually I'll see people out at events, or I'll meet people through other people. So that's kind of how I go about it on our end. But people want to reach out to us, they can hit us on website contact form. Shoot me a DM, whatever works.
You okay with LinkedIn?
Of course, yeah. Anywhere. Just
everybody watching this, man. If you on the East Coast, New Jersey, New York, I've been talking to a bunch of you guys. If you see this and you guys are looking to add delivery to your ecosystem, reach out to my guy, Scott Prisco, Priscotty Delivery. They are, in my understanding, the one and only delivery service I see doing this model in not just one place, but multiple areas. There might be more, but this is what I know. I'm speaking from my research and my perspective. I only know of Priscotty Delivery in terms of cannabis delivery services, and I would call it cannabis delivery infrastructure services, because you can partner and be a delivery service for somebody and their arm of that. And so you guys, if you have a retail, great opportunity. Connect with Scott, learn from him, pay him for his time if you're going to ask him questions on that advising consulting world. Partner with him if you got products and you got a good area geographically for delivery. And if you guys need anything, man, feel free to reach out to me. I'm here to plug you guys in. Scott, thank you for being here with us today. I was honored to have you, CEO of Priscotty Delivery, New Mexico Delivery, New Jersey, New York, coming online soon. Big moves in the work. Everybody watching this, man, talk some shit in the comments. If you got to, get that off your chest. But either way, man, it's undeniable that Scott and his team, his people, they're all making moves. And so no matter what you do, if you're going to talk shit, just tune back in for more content, more interviews. And if you need delivery, place an order with my guy.
We got something coming in New York and New Jersey, though. We're going to tell. We got me and Joey got something cooking right now. More on that soon. We still got a link. We got a link and talk more about that.
More on that soon, you guys. You guys are getting a little bit of we'll give you 10% of the RMR exclusive right there. We got a little bit in the works, man. Tap in, like, follow, subscribe, talk some shit, do what you got to do. But no matter what, we'll be back with more interviews. Scott Prisco, CEO, Priscotty Delivery, New Mexico, Jersey, New York. Big moves coming online. I love you guys. This is another episode of the RMR Podcast. Today's episode powered by RMR Legacy Smalls, premium indoor cannabis flower, available in Washington State and California. Go check it out. Ask for it. Scott, I appreciate you, man. Have a good rest of your Friday, okay?
You too, yo. Real quick though, before I go, that packaging, yeah. Good job on that packaging. It's
Thank
fire.
You,
I like that.
That's love. I'll show you guys one more time.
Are you going to come out to the East Coast? Are you coming out to New York, New Jersey?
For the North American Weed Tour, I'll be out there for Syracuse, NECAN, New Jersey, NECAN. In terms of getting the product out there, right now we're just, we can have a conversation about all those shitty details because it's just a whole nother, project to work through for us.
Yeah, it's a lot of work.
We'll get it there, though. We'll get it there soon. Well, yeah, you guys stay tuned. RMR East Coast, hopefully coming one day. West Coast, we still alive and at it. I'll see y'all.